From the College of Education, Temple University, this is Profiles in Literature, featuring authors and illustrators prominent in American literature for children. The moderator of the series is Dr. Jaqueline Shachter, Associate Professor of Children's Literature at Temple University. Today's special guest is John Langstaff.
Profiles in Literature is proud to present the outstanding collector of folk music for children, Mr. John Langstaff. We're delighted that you came from Boston. We hope your memories of Philadelphia are pleasant because you were a student here at Curtis Institute of Music.
That's right, yes, years ago.
How do you feel about returning?
Oh, I always liked this city. It's good to get back. I remember it well as a student.
Joining me in welcoming you is Carolyn Field, Coordinator of Work with Children for the Free Library of Philadelphia.
Nice to have you here, John.
It's good to see you again.
In the audience are teachers, college students, and elementary pupils who very much love the songs you've collected. How does your work differ from that of most authors?
Well, I am a collector in a certain sense. In fact, I even think that's a rather strong term. I really am a compiler, I think. I don't actually go out in the field and collect from the people in the fields, but I collect out of many sources and compile them in books, keeping exactly what is there from the tradition so that children can have these in some form. And many of them are picture books, and others are collections of songs that I've taught and worked with children on.
I've tallied over 21 books in your name. Is that correct?
And maybe that. Some of them are, some of those might be ones they do abroad, but I mean, it's something like that, yes.
We're going to see now some of your children's books, beginning with Frog Went A-Courtin', illustrated by Fyodor Rozhankovsky, which won the Caldecott Medal in 1956. This was published by Harcourt, Brace, and Jovanovich, as was Hi-Ho the Rattling Bog, illustrated by Robin Jacques, Jim Along Josie, one of the few music collections to be an American Library Association notable book, and the medieval carols of On Christmas Day in the Morning. Doubleday published your Shimmy Shimmy Coca Pop and your American Christmas music in the Season for Singing, illustrated by John Johnson. Athenaeum's Margaret McElderry books are responsible for your Rounds and Canons in Sweetly Sings the Donkey, and two books illustrated by Nancy Winslow Parker, Oh, A Hunting We Will Go, and your newest book to be released soon, Hot Cross Buns and Other Old Street Cries. Why are your collections of folk songs considered to be part of traditional literature?
Because they do, all of these songs do stem from the traditions of children's own families from way back, the kind of things that we really they shouldn't be having to get out of books, they shouldn't really having to be taught by teachers, they would all be taught at home, they learn it that way. But since that's not being done as much, this is a way of getting it back into the stream of their lives. It's a little bit like their language. I always think these traditional things are like the language. Where did their language come from? Where do these songs come from? It's the same root, and it changes all the time as language changes.
You've sometimes even called these songs a sung story. Isn't that true?
Yes.
I was going to ask, what particular type of songs do you collect? Because there's so many varieties of folk songs.
Yes, that's true, Carolyn. Of course, the thing about these collections that I like to make that point with students of all ages, too, is they're not children's songs. They're songs that have come from families. They're adult songs. I don't know any children's songs. They never teach any children's songs to children. A few alphabet songs, things that they themselves have written, and some contemporary songs that have been written. But the traditional music really comes from the adults. It's all part of that whole tradition, and the children just picked it up.
Adventure and
adventure songs. There are a lot of those ballads. The ballads are my favorite ones, the story songs. And, of course, the story songs make good picture books. And then other collections, things like A Hunting We Will Go, that's something that the children themselves can make up verses to, and I like that idea. The children make up verses. I don't make up verses to these things if they're in the tradition. I keep them exactly that way and just compile bits and pieces from different parts of the country or
you
parts of the world.
You get it from the sheet musics, from books?
And some people. Richard Chase gave me some, people like that, yes.
When you have more than one variant that you find for a single song, how do you decide which one to use in a book?
Well, there are a lot. What I want to use is my favorite, I guess, something that I think will appeal to children. I've sung it with children. I work with children. I know the verses that they enjoy. And something like Frog Went A-Courtin', you're right, that's a good example. There are about 50 50 or 60 different variants of that song that I just picked out verses I knew from Michigan, from Texas, from Scotland, from Ireland, and so on, put them in there. I didn't make up anything. Even the ending to Frog Went A-Courting is a happy ending, which it usually isn't in most versions, but that came from Michigan, that particular ending.
With picture books, the pictures are very important.
Exactly.
And Frog Went A-Courting, you had Rojankovsky to illustrate. What was your impression of him, and did you work directly with him?
I didn't work very much with him. I wish I had. I met him, and I very much appreciated him. He loved music. He played the balalaika.
Oh, did he?
He did that one, and he did Over in the Meadow. And, of course, he loves animals. He loves insects, and nobody draws insects and animals as well as he does. But there are some things that he never did understand. His English was not too good, but my Russian wasn't much anything either. But he, for instance, in came the gray goose, and she picked up a fiddle and she cut loose, you know? She picked up a fiddle and she cut loose. Well, picking up a fiddle and cutting loose, you know, we know, as Americans, we know what that means. But he thought it meant there was a loose string on the fiddle. And that's how it was illustrated. And I didn't see that until it was all done. But he was a great illustrator, but all my illustrators have been great, and they're the people that really make the picture book, as well as its material, which is great material to begin with.
Speaking about recollections, do tell us about Eleanor Roosevelt, with whom you worked on your recordings for children called Hello World.
Well, I would say in that record, to tell you the truth, I never met Eleanor Roosevelt. That was one of the things down there. I recorded that with the symphony orchestra, and I did all my part, and she did her part, and it was all brought together. That's the truth.
That takes care of that.
That's an old RCA Victor. I didn't even think you knew about that record. Yes.
Well, you were a child vocalist, and that probably got you started in this, or did it? How did you get started in music to begin with?
Well, that's true. As a child, we did a lot of singing in the family, my mother and so on. And then I was in a choir school. I went to a choir school and sang in that when I was 7. I went off to a choir school. I was allowed to see my family, I think, 2 hours on Sunday. The rest of the time we were in this choir school. We were given free education. We were given our room and all that, and a lot of training. So that was the beginning. But it was an interesting beginning until my voice changed, and I moved on. Eventually landed in Philadelphia.
That's right, you did. In fact, you sang at my church. Do you remember?
That's right.
Calvary, as a soloist.
Yes, that's right. I remember that. There's a wonderful story there. Should I tell the story? I went down to have an audition. I've been auditioning with a lot of people, and I had an audition late on Saturday afternoon with this man and the organist, and when he got through, he said, "I want you as a soloist." And I said, "Oh, that's very nice. I'm glad to have that job because I need it, you know, to eat while I'm a student here." And I said, "By the way, could we start out? Could you lend me $5 to get home? I had to get back to New York." In those days, it cost $5 to get to New York, I think.
Well, you've worked with children a great deal, and you must enjoy working with children. What about the young audiences of Massachusetts?
Well,
what is this?
Well, there's young audiences in nearly every state in the United States. I know some right here in Philadelphia, a very good chapter here in Philadelphia, and we are the chapter in New England, Boston, New England. And as people will know, that's a great opportunity for live musicians in small ensembles to be brought into the school in different kinds of music, and not only put on performances for children, but really involve the kids in that particular performing art, if it's music or dance or the theater.
Questions are in order from the audience. Jody Lean.
Yes, could you tell us about your NBC weekly series in 1966?
Yes. Well, I should give great credit to that, to a friend of Carolyn Fields of mine, Lavinia Russ. Lavinia Russ asked me once if I would do a program for NBC on children's books, and I thought, I hate to say this, but I thought, oh dear, television, children's books, I don't know what would happen. I wasn't sure about it. I said, no, I wouldn't do it. Didn't think it would probably work. You know, I wasn't sure what they'd ask me to do. Then she said, well, I'm going to come down to Washington and talk to you about it. So she came down to Washington and talked to us one weekend, and I was so entranced with what she'd done. She'd gone into NBC, and she'd convinced these people running television there, that children's books were important to do, and that the important things in children's books were the enjoyment, the delight in reading children's books, not just curriculum-oriented books in the schools, but the delight of reading. So she organized this thing, and I just came in to work with the kids, and I picked out a bunch of children from the area, and we'd meet there every Saturday morning for an hour. Well, actually, we taped this early. We taped 2 programs, you know, weeks. It was done 56, 52 weeks, whatever there are in a week, in a year. And what they did was the children were there in a studio, a little like this, and we would discuss maybe pirate stories one day, maybe animal stories one day, you know, family stories, all these various things. And then Lavinia Russ would pick out a book that was that time, had just come out recently, but enough libraries had it and schools had it, so it was available. And I would read a little bit from it, a little cliffhanger, you know, read a little bit of this. And then the kids would get excited about it, and they'd all go read it, and the next week they'd come back and they'd discuss it, and they'd say right out, there was no rehearsal of this broadcast, they'd say right out what they thought about it and what they liked about it. And it was very fascinating. The children were really involved, and it was called Children Explore Books. something like that.
Yes,
That's right.
that's it
Is that
exactly.
the
Title.
Eileen Adamson.
Yes, Mr. Langstaff, can you tell us a little bit about the BBC series, Making Music?
Well, I'd been over in Europe, and I'd been singing concerts, regular concerts in Europe, and made some recordings for adults, regular recordings. And I don't know, maybe I think I did say to his master's voice as I was leaving once, I said, would you be interested in doing a record of songs for children? I'm telling you a lot of very honest things now. And they said, yes, we would. What have you got in mind? And I showed them, and I hate to tell you, these were the same things that I'd suggested to some companies in the United States that we might do, and they didn't think they would be, you know, commercial enough. So these became wonderful records, and they became great hits, and I got children in to sing with me on them. And then the BBC wanted to do a program called Making Music, and they wanted someone to kind of be there as a teacher, moderator, singer, and so on, working with them. And they asked me if I'd do it. And it was a great privilege, because I went over there for about 6 years, you know, for 2 months, and did a 13-week program. And I'd have about 50 to 60 kids in the studio with me with their instruments, and they commissioned works by Michael Tippett and Richard Rodney Bennett and so on. And we did these works, and they found out wonderful ways of teaching kids about music. And we started with the language itself. We started with words and the rhythm of words, and then we went on into notation. It was a very exciting program. And that program went all over the English-speaking part, anyway. I don't think it's ever been shown here, because those were English kids I was working with. But one should do a thing like that with American children.
Carolyn, you have...
Well, I was just thinking when you talked about narrating and so forth, English teachers all around the world should be very familiar, because I'm sure they've seen the Lively Art of Picture books, which you narrated, which is shown in every library and every school of education and everywhere.
It's a long time ago.
It's a great show.
Well, that was Mort Schindel on Western Woods. That was his vision.
Very
yes.
early.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is the home of a great many artists and illustrators and authors. Our favorites are Joe and Beth Crush. Now, you've worked with them. Yeah. They illustrated together one book.
Yes, that's Swapping Boy.
And then Joe did
Old Dan Tucker. Right. Yeah.
Did you have any special experiences with them?
Well, I did. I wanted very much to use them because Rojankowski had done the Over in the Meadow and Frog Went a Courtin' with the animals and the insects wonderfully. But these other books, the Swapping Boy and Old Dan Tucker, I thought they really have such an American quality. I wanted really an American quality, and the Crushes had this. Well, how did I learn? As you know, from the Borrowers, and the Borrowers Afloat and all that. Which is interesting, because Margaret McElderry, our editor, had brought that book from England, you know, and she didn't like the illustrations in the English edition, and so she got the Crushes to make these wonderful illustrations, which are beautiful. So that's how they did that, and I came down to Wayne.
They live in Wayne.
Yeah, yeah. What's that?
Up on the hill,
up on the hill,
Colonial Road.
Right, and there they were in this nice place, and I talked to them about doing this book, and I guess that was the second one, maybe. Yeah, it was the second one, because I dedicated that book to Jay, who was this little boy running around the place. And I felt very badly, because here I'd come down to talk to his father about doing Old Dan Tucker. And this boy wanted his father to come down in the cellar. And they were making these marvelous airplanes, you know, model airplanes about this big. And they were so light that when Joe or Jay would blow them like that, they'd float up in the air. It was beautiful to see these things. And of course, these two were into making those airplanes, but I had to talk to them about Old Dan Tucker. So I think Jay was very nice about that, this little boy.
Well, I have to tell you, Jay is both a musician. He's a graduate of a College of Music, but he has also illustrated his first book.
Really?
For Westminster Press. So
when was that? Just recently?
It's just come out.
Well,
yes.
I want to find. I'll go look at that. That's
yes,
marvelous. Well, I'm glad he. Well, I thought
it's
it was
on
going on
science
airplanes.
fiction. It's
well,
by a book by the camp.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
Science fiction.
From the College of Music, Dr. Marion DeMann.
Mr. Langstaff, for a long while I have known about the books that dealt with single songs. Then I came across a collection of recordings of charming songs that I did not know where to find them in print. And it was not until I prepared for this day with Hi-Ho the Rattling Bog that I knew of that collection. Do you have other song collections, or are you anticipating making more?
Well, Dr. Mann, I do have some. I've done a lot of recordings with children and for children. And I guess you're referring to what, the Songs for Singing Children, or Let's Make Music with...
I really can't say the name of it, but it had a Mango Walk
yes, that's
and
right.
Green Corn.
That's right. Well, those records I made with kids in Europe, and they've just come to this country, so they've just been released here, but those were made some years ago, and they're wonderful songs. Wonderful. And I've used some children in it, and they both, a lot of the songs come from Hi-Ho the Rattling Bog and from Jim Along Josie, those two collections of songs.
Are there other collections, though?
Well, Jim Along Josie is the main collection that has a lot of the things in them. That's for slightly younger children. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mrs. Erna McKevitt, College of Music.
Do you have in your collection other accompaniments other than the piano or guitar?
That's a good point, yes. The guitar is usually there. Some aren't at all. We sang some of these songs without any accompaniment, children just singing them. But in Jim Along Josie, we worked out very simple accompaniments that could be played by children accompanying themselves on some kind of pitched instrument. It might be milk bottles. There aren't milk bottles anymore. Glasses with water in them that make pitches and things of that sort. If they have any chime bars or glockenspiel, something, that's fine, a school situation. And all kinds of ostinati that they could use, clapping underneath the songs. So that book, Jim Along Josie, in the folk songs, has all of that. In the singing games, it doesn't, because children are dancing and singing at the same time. But that's where we used a few of the others. That's the only other ones I've used. I guess also it does say in the Canons and Rounds, the Sweetly Sings the Donkey, that you can play some of those with recorder, if you're a recorder player.
Dr. Don Fork is head of the College of Education, Educational Media Department.
Mr. Langstaff, I'd be curious, when you go to visit, let's say, new regions of the country or other countries that you're not familiar with, where you go to more or less discover new material or new songs that you might be able to incorporate into future efforts.
Yes, that's interesting. I don't do a great deal going out and collecting the way we were speaking Alvin Schwartz does, in different parts of the country. One of my great collecting spots is the Library of Congress, for instance, in Washington. But you do pick up things as you go around. My friend Richard Chase, who now is out in California, but down the Appalachian Mountains, he's given me things that he's collected through there. I was out in Rapid City some time ago doing a lecture out there, working a workshop with teachers. And the next morning before I left, I went out to a school, passing a schoolyard where there were a lot of Sioux Indian children. And I was interested. These Sioux Indian children were doing skip rope and the games like that, and bouncing balls. And I had just done the Shimmy Shimmy Cocoa Pop book. And I was fascinated to find these children, those Sioux Indian children, knew exactly the same skip rope rhymes as the children in Boston. Cinderella, dressed in yellow, went downtown to see her fella. On the way, her girdle busted. How many fellas were disgusted? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a counting game, of course. But it's that. So you find them all around, and I keep looking. And of course, in Europe, I found variants. St. George and the Dragon, that great big book of the Mummers play I did. I got many, many variants I went through there in the library at Cecil Sharp House. There are hundreds and hundreds of these things, all written out, not typed, but all written out by hand. And I drew from there for my play, the Mummers play, for Christmas time.
Priscilla Wilson.
Yes. Mr. Langstaff, could you explain to us about your Christmas and spring revels?
Well, revels, yes. That's something that I was interested in doing, and I did it many years ago, and it's grown since then. It's such proportions. We did it in New York, and then we did it in Washington when I was teaching there, and then NBC took it and put it on as their Christmas special some years ago. But the thing that's really happened is up in Cambridge, up in Boston. I've done the same thing there. What I've done there is to pull all these traditional things together. Traditional music, songs, dance, and drama, the Mummers play, for the winter solstice. Not so much a celebration of the Nativity at Christmas. It's the winter solstice, that time that all people celebrate all around. And we take these elements, and I form them into a work, and I change it every year. All kinds of material I use. It goes far back. Some people think it's kind of pagan. It goes back to pagan beginnings. And I use some very good professionals, those of us who are professional working, and I use a wonderful group of amateurs, from little children, much younger than these people, who may be doing some little mummers carols or street games and things like that, to people of all ages, grandmothers and so on, who are there singing with us. And we have these amateurs on stage too. And we involve the whole audience in singing, and sometimes even in dancing. So it's that kind of a thing. Someday we're going to carry this to different parts, not our troupe, but our core people are going to different areas and developing that, so that in Philadelphia or in Washington it was done. It's been done up in Dartmouth. It'll be done in New York next year. The people there themselves will do this as a celebration. And spring, of course, is another time people want to celebrate, when it gets warm and things come out. And there are a lot of wonderful spring things to be done, processions and so on.
What are your hobbies beside music, which is also your life?
Oh, dear, Carolyn, I have to think about that. I like to dance. I mean, I do odd kind of dancing. I do ritual dancing, like folk dancing and Morris dancing. And I like to climb mountains, and I like to take care of trees. I like trees and that kind of thing. And I like brass rubbings, but I'm way off from England where you can rub brasses, so that's something out of the past for a while anyway.
Your interests are very broad. We can appreciate your creativity as a teacher, not so much in words as by seeing you in action. We're grateful that you suggested this. In the studio, we have 6 9-year-olds from Duckery and White Marsh Elementary Schools. thanks to Dr. Marion Demand of Temple University's College of Music. We'd like to hear how you sing together.
Well, let's do some music, and maybe you'll join us too. People will join us here. Boys and girls, music is the kind of things we're doing. The songs have words. That's one of the exciting things about songs, different from some kinds of music you play with a violin or piano. There are words, and words have rhythm. You take a word, take a song like, can you clap that? Try it. Hill and gully, hill and, those are the words, hill and gully, hill and gully. Hill and gully rider, hill and gully, hill and gully rider, hill and gully, and a bend down, low down, hill and gully, and you better watch it tumble down, hill and gully, and you better watch it tumble down, hill and gully. Can you sing and you better watch? Try it. And you better watch it tumble down, hill and, yeah, spit those words out, and you better watch it tumble down. Spit them out, because that's what's great. Not you better watch, but you better, all the tongue, lips, teeth, braces, and you got in your mouth. Better watch, spit them out, try it. And you better watch it tumble down, hill and gully. Let's do the whole song. Hill and gully rider, both times, and then, and a bend down, low down. Can you do that with your body? And a bend down, low down. Try that. And a bend down, low down. Now you got the whole song. And you better watch spitting those notes out. And hill and gully. Ready to sing. Hill and gully rider, hill and gully, hill and gully rider, hill and gully, and a bend down, low down, hill and gully, and you better watch it tumble down, hill and gully again. Hill and gully rider, hill and gully, hill and gully rider, hill and gully, and a bend down, low down, hill and gully, and you better watch it tumble down, hill and gully. We can do lots of things with that song, clapping it and doing things with it. Let's do the Rattling Bog. Could we do that? I'd like everybody to do it. I'd like you to be able to sing it with us too. The tune goes this way. I'll sing it first. Hi-ho, the rattling bog and the bog down in the valley, oh. Hi-ho, the rattling bog and the bog down in the valley, oh. And then we go on and on, building up things in this bog. Hope you know what a bog is. Do you know what a bog is? Do you know what a bog is? Come on, think. Come on. Some kids way out west, they don't know what a bog is. Up where I come from at the moment, they grow cranberries in a bog. Now, what is a bog?
Oh, another field.
It's a field, yeah. Well, what kind of field is it? Is it a dry field? Or is it a wet, swampy field? Let's sing it. Hi-ho, the rattling bog, the bog down in the valley, oh. Will you help me? Let's get everyone to sing it. Okay, here we go. Hi-ho, the rattling bog and the bog down in the valley, oh. Hi-ho, the rattling bog and the bog down in the valley. Now in this bog there was a tree, a rare tree, a rattling tree. The tree in the bog and the bog down in the valley. Sing! Hi-ho, the rattling bog and the bog down in the valley, oh. Hi-ho, the rattling bog and the bog down in the valley. Now on this tree there was a nest, a rare nest, a rattling nest. The nest on the tree and the tree in the bog and the bog down in the valley. Sing! Hi-ho, the rattling bog and the bog down in the valley, oh. Hi-ho, the rattling bog and the bog down in the valley. Now in this nest there was an egg, a rare egg, a rattling egg. The egg in the nest and the nest on the tree and the tree in the bog and the bog down in the valley. Sing! Hi-ho, the rattling bog and the bog down in the valley, oh. Hi-ho, the rattling bog and the bog down in the valley. Now in this egg there was a bird, a rare bird, a rattling bird. The bird in the egg and the egg in the nest and the nest in the tree and the tree in the bog and the bog down in the valley. Let's go! Hi-ho, the rattling bog and the bog down in the valley, oh. Hi-ho, the rattling bog and the bog down in the valley. Now in this egg there was a bird, a rare bird, a rattling bird. The bird in the egg and the egg in the bird and the bird in the egg and the egg in the bird and the bird in the egg and the egg in the bird and the bird in the egg and the egg in the nest and the nest on the tree and the tree in the bog and the bog down in the valley, oh. Hi-ho, the rattling bog and the bog down in the valley, oh. couldn't we, you know? Sometimes, did you ever do that with a, what do you put on the bird? Feather on the bird? I made a mistake, didn't I? I had the bird and the egg and the egg and the bird and the bird and the egg and on. But we could go on. It could get longer and longer and longer, you know? Do you ever do that? Put the feather on the bird? A wing on the bird? A feather on the wing? A germ on the feather? I think it'd be nice if we all maybe, let's end with a little song that I could teach you, and if you feel like dancing, we could even practically dance right here, right in front. All right. This is it. It goes this way. Oh, McTavish is dead and his brother don't know it. His brother is dead and McTavish don't know it. They're both of them dead and they're in the same bed. Neither one knows that the other is dead. How about that? Oh, McTavish is dead and his brother don't know it. His brother is dead and McTavish don't know it. They're both of them dead and they're in the same bed. Neither one knows that the other is dead. Sing. Oh, McTavish is dead and his brother don't know it. His brother is dead and McTavish don't know it. They're both of them dead and they're in the same bed. Neither one knows that the other is dead. Oh, McTavish is dead and his brother don't know it.
I'm going to have to get you back to home base, sorry. That was just great. It's a pleasure to hear him sing. After all, he was trained at both Juilliard and Curtis. He's been a soloist with numerous symphonies, including the New York Philharmonic. It's not surprising that he, both handsome and gifted, has appeared on film for Weston Woods as narrator in The Lively Art of Picture Books, and on television for both BBC in London and NBC in New York. He's been a commentator for children's concerts from Montreal to Washington, D.C., and is known on both sides of the Atlantic. The National Federations of Musicians gave him special recognition for his presentation of outstanding American music abroad. It's a pleasure having you as our guest.
Dr. Shachter. Good, Karen. Nice to see you again.